Hi, this is Stephanie Miller from The Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from my show on Political Voices Network. Slowly you turned. So, Harry, let's start with the good news because that's just the way I am. You tweeted, okay, sports fans, the Colorado case, far from Trump's gigantic court victory, is a giant step towards endorsement of the claim, though many obstacles remain. And you did a column, Trump called the latest 14th Amendment ruling a victory, but he couldn't be more wrong. And I know you said that he hailed it as a victory. You said it's a giant step, though, toward disqualifying Trump. The opinion gives the challengers what they needed most, a determination that Trump engaged in insurrection while raising legal questions the higher courts will have to answer in any case. So it hereby breathes new life, you say, into a potential legal solution to the Trump nightmare. So talk to us about that, because for most of us it was head spinning, right?
Yeah, and the issue is sort of head spinning, but look, in order to ever get there, everyone agrees in some world in which this actually happens, the U.S. Supreme Court will make the final call, but they need, U.S. Supreme Court isn't in the business of deciding facts and saying what happened on the ground. And every court that had considered this claim had shied away from doing exactly that, saying this might be for Congress or it's not what the lawyers call ripe. So Judge Wallace's opinion went in great detail after a week of testimony and evidence and said all these things, and the sliver that's left, and the challengers just filed a pretty compelling brief yesterday, is something that a court of appeals can do on its own. So if the Colorado Supreme Court, and I don't like to think in these terms, but if you look at the personnel overwhelmingly Democratic appointed, if they say, we defer, that's what you do to factual findings. We defer to all the things that you held about him, his intent, why he was doing things, etc. We agree with your legal analysis, and then on this little sliver, we reverse you, which might have been her sort of dearest hope. Didn't want to be the person who really pulled the trigger, but leave it up there. At that point, the whole canvas has been painted. Whereas if she hadn't done this, we'd have been at square one, casting about for some court to do the essential of saying he engaged in insurrection and on the facts. So it really does set the table, and the things it does are much more important than what it doesn't do, because what it doesn't do are legal things that any higher court can do.
Okay. Because I know other people have made the analogy, Harry, but
is the head still spinning?
Yes, because they found it can't be what the founders.
Because this it's tough stuff.
But it can't be what the founders intended. Someone made the point about they wouldn't have let Jefferson Davis go on the ballot after the this. Anyway, all right, let's move on.
Okay, so you have put your finger. There's the officer thing, which isn't listed there, but really, would they have meant that Jefferson Davis not go on the ballot? Could have been the president and was qualified after the Civil War. You're right, and that's what Colorado Supreme Court is going to be confronting. If they agree with what you've just said, we are. It's totally the U.S. Supreme Court on what would be a breathtaking way to settle this whole deal. Trump is not qualified. It's very hard to think of the U.S. Supreme Court doing that, but we'd be within 6 inches of it.
Yeah, let's talk about the slightly less happy clappy news. You said Fani Willis requests for an August date of a trial. She says will be at least 4 months. Combined with Cannon's already having set the stage for a long delay, means it's likely the only real hope for a jury conviction in advance of the election is the 1/6 trial, not counting Alvin Bragg. That seems to be the one I'm pinning my hopes on thus far. Can this ruling in Colorado? I mean, does that serve as what, a template for Jack Smith? I mean, he is. At least in some.
I know. There's. Jack Smith hasn't actually
charged insurrection.
Insurrection in so many words. It's all sort of similar, but it's
but this is a suggestion. This is improv.
Jury. It's just a total wild card, out of nowhere. That if it lands, everything's over. It's all been nice. There's still the criminal trials for Trump, but he couldn't be president again. Could that really happen? Wow. But it is more unrelated to Smith's federal law claim of helping incite violence than it is connected to, basically.
So Chris Christie, who I agree with more and more.
Yeah.
What has happened? Said his own former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, is going to testify. I committed crimes at his instruction, and he committed crimes right before my eyes. If that doesn't disqualify you from being president of the United States, what the hell does? He's been saying over and over, Trump will be convicted. He will be imprisoned in this trial. I do like David Corn said, from the guy who didn't think Trump aiding and abetting a foreign attack on American democracy in 2016 was disqualifying. Christie's right, but he's so late to the party, all he gets are empty beer bottles. But, you know... go ahead. Go ahead.
So the question, look, the evidence is strong, and we don't know a lot of it, and the more we learn, the better it is. Mark Meadows remains a giant question mark. He's still bobbing and weaving, but assuming he is finally, stuck like a butterfly on a tack board, what does he do? I don't see his getting a deal that keeps him out of jail. But it's a same thing with Giuliani, probably with Eastman and Clark. Super expensive defense, and that lands you at the end of the day with just a longer sentence. They are really hurting. But this is one of the reasons I was a little chagrined and puzzled that Fani Willis, who before was like, let's go, we'll do it tomorrow with all 19 folks, is saying August now, because you really need to set that trial date to put the heat on remaining defendants to make pleas. Until then, they just kind of, trail along in the water, and then you want the rapids to come, and they won't come till then. So that's, we may not see these pleas happen. At the end of the day, though, and in fact, she may not offer pleas ever to Meadows, to Giuliani, to Trump, but it's the setting of the trial date that will put her, deck in order with the other witnesses who will try to plead. And right now, there doesn't seem to be a big rush.
Well, also, it seems like Judge Cannon is blocking her. That's a legal term.
That's it, right? Yeah. Exactly. No, together they're like a tag team. Yeah, well, I don't want to say that about Fani Willis, but definitely look at how that works with Cannon, because Cannon has already set the stage for going past August, and then it'll be oops. This, well, now we have Fulton County, see you in 2025 or whatever. So, yeah, that's a bad dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, this headline this morning, Harry, Judge Cannon could further delay trial by allowing Trump to graymail Jack Smith.
Right.
Obviously, virtually no chance is going to start on the scheduled date of May 20th because of her unwillingness to set any of the deadlines on SIPA or anything else. But this story says Trump or even one of his two co-defendants, Walt Nada or the Carlos de Oliveira, could slow things down by asking the court to force prosecutors to gather more evidence than they think might be relevant. And if any of that evidence is classified, that might require multiple rounds of litigation to determine what could be used at trial. It is so frustrating for us lay people.
Go ahead.
On something that is so important, our nation's secrets, and they can just keep delaying this with the help of this
and graymail is the point. You're good with you got all these terms down.
I'm a paralegal now.
But the way it works, here's what's really perverse about this. Trump has not been charged, nor Nada or Oliveira, with anything that has to do with the content of these documents. That's when you're fighting over things, and I need to have this to prove my innocence, or the U.S. has to have this part, and that's the sort of separate litigation that can take a long time. What will the classified documents say? The charge against him is he took sensitive information, he knew it, and he took it away. It really doesn't matter what it says, but she will definitely let him make these arguments that he'll hope will tie the U.S. in knots, delay, saying, I must have this sentence for God knows what reason, even though the U.S. is saying, no, that's a sentence you can't have. So, that's an open invitation when Cannon is at the party to string things out for months.
So let's talk about what happened yesterday. Finally, a judge has ruled against revoking bond for Harrison Floyd, one of the co-defendants in the Georgia election interference case. However, Judge Scott McAfee is ordering changes to the bond conditions after Floyd posted about several witnesses in the case on social media. As you saw, Fani Willis was there herself in court for the first time. She said, "You should not have done this. You knew it was against the rules. You put someone in danger as a result of doing it, and now you need to be held accountable for it so that we can make sure all the defendants in the case get a fair trial and witnesses are kept safe." So for those who don't know, he's facing 3 felony counts over his failed efforts to intimidate Ruby Friedman and getting her to falsely admit she committed election fraud. Floyd, the former leader of Black Voices for Trump, has adopted a novel legal defense trying to prove the 2020 election was indeed stolen. Well, that's going to go nowhere. But how does he get away, Harry? He's doing the same thing that he's being charged with. Is trying to intimidate.
Well, this was interesting in a couple ways.
Friedman.
At least that's what Fani Willis said, and she said it in very harsh terms, and, he's spitting on the order and doesn't mean anything or not. And, she's the top dog in the office. You choose your spots carefully. I was in a similar position before you come in, and she really came in guns a-blazing, and McAfee didn't quite go with her. Sitting there thinking, if this technical violation is enough to yank your conditions of release, what am I going to do in 2 weeks when she comes in with much sharper stuff against Trump? Am I going to be the guy who puts him in jail, which is where she wanted to put the other defendant? So I think that was the sort of hovering dynamic. But so the rewrite of the order is pretty broad, and there's a lot he now can't do. But, I wouldn't want to be the person, the top dog in the office who comes in, says all these things and doesn't win.
Yeah.
She put it on the line.
Harry, give us, past the Thanksgiving justice gravy before you go, just give us one thing to be thankful for as it relates to Trump and prison before you
Tanya
go.
Chutkin.
What's that? Oh, Tanya
Chutkin.
Yay. Okay.
Happy Thanksgiving to
You too.
all you.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks for taking time for us.